Hello everyone, this is Jim Okersinski with your week 2 lecture video. So I'm going to cover two topics in this lecture video. Hopefully I can get them all in a reasonable amount of time. I just want to review the critical thinking essay assignment that is due this week. I really talked about it at length last week in the lecture video, so you might want to go back and review week 1 lecture video. It's still posted up in Blackboard. So remember, these are two articles. Everybody's written their discussion board posts and have covered them significantly. They are both kind of long and complicated, so you have to really decide how you want to go about summarizing and talking about them. So remember now, your essay is straightforward. I'm not looking for a big introduction here. I don't want any large abstract winding. This is a introduction here. I'm looking for. I want you to get right to it in this particular essay. So I'm looking for a short summary capturing the main point of both articles. Respond to the articles and the arguments. Do you agree? Disagree? Why? You want to go back to look at your discussion boards and posts? That's fine with me. You can expand on that from the posts. And also, I need you to provide some support. So I'd like you to put the two articles in conversation with each other. Don't talk about them as separate entities. Okay, summary, and then when you respond, agree, disagree. There are many connections that can be made between the two articles about Gen Z and social media and the idea behind the coddling of the American mind. So see if you can draw those connections and work back and forth between discussing those two articles in your response portion, right? So please don't give me a long abstract introduction. I just want you to get right to it. Use up that 1,000 words wisely. If I have to read a bunch of nothing, it's probably gonna not grade too well. So, and considering it's worth 200 points, please be sure that you are adhering to the structure here. All right. So anyway, remember, assignment uploads are here. So you're going to want to make sure that you read the Google Drive instructions. Make sure you upload your GDoc to the critical thinking folder in our Drive folder, and remember to click on write submission, copy and paste your GDoc link to your final draft here, and then click submit, and that way I'll have your GDoc link. Do not upload a document, a doc's, a PDF, any document. I need to see a GDoc link as described in the instructions. So that is the procedure. I believe it is due this weekend. And now I want to move on to the introduction, right? The introduction here in week 2. Everybody was working on exercise 1, what you believe. I think there might be some mix up in the discussion board threads there, but I'll sort that out during grading. The idea here is for you to look at in chapter and the introduction as to what exactly is a research essay or a research paper as opposed to a research report. So it's an important distinction, and then we'll get on to theories of intelligence. So the whole idea here is the research paper, or what I call the research essay, versus the report, the research report. Reports are easier. You just, regurgitate a lot of information, you cite it, it's probably functional in its service to the assignment, but they're really boring to read, and it's really difficult to wander through a research report because there's just no thinking there, there's no active engagement, you're just regurgitating information, and it's basically a lot of times on certain topics kind of like what everybody's already been talking about. So what is something new you can bring to the conversation? So if we look at the instruction here, are you gonna, thinking like an academic writer is this Really, inquiry begins with questions. I mean, the purpose behind the research paper and the course and doing research and performing research, I should say, and then working with the voices of others is for you to learn from the process, from the research process, reading what other people say, integrating into your own thinking, integrating the evidence as you see it presented across many, many sources. Okay. Real insight is the result of believing, and doubting. All right, you believe this, and then what do you question? Okay, how do you get that thought process rolling in your mind about your topic? So you have a method of discovery. There's three ways to look at it. You know what you think from the start and write a paper that begins with a thesis and provides evidence. You can have a hunch about what you think and test that hunch against evidence, or you can begin with not knowing what you think and then you can discover something about a topic. In other words, if you look in the book, I believe there is a definition of the origin of the word essay. Essay means French derivative, which means to try, right? So Ballinger talks about firing on four cylinders. Information is probably from an older edition. He talks about those in the introduction, and this is where you get your information. We all do. It's from memory and experience, right? Observation, reading, like from secondary sources and reading, and then from interviewing people. This is where we get our information. And what kind of a topic could you develop with those types of sources of information, those four cylinders, right? How do you build authority? Why not use personal experience if use it as academic evidence? Observation from what you see, right? Reading from sources, interviews. You can interview, talk to people. People are an important aspect in any kind of research project, right? We do it all the time. So when does research and information become knowledge? Okay, I think a lot of people have an idea about what an opinion is and what knowledge is. Opinions are all over the place now, especially in our current national discourse. But the idea here is that if your opinion, your thinking is informed by evidence, actually factual evidence and not fake evidence, then you all of a sudden your information and your opinion takes on the role of knowledge. This is what you've been able to discuss through your readings and thinking, and that's how we go about it. So getting to theories of intelligence. So I read the discussion boards. Everybody has an interesting take on what theories is, on whether it's a research paper or a research essay or a report, right? So there's a lot of debate, all right? So I'm asking you what it is, right? What conventions does it share? More generally, who determines the conventions like a research paper, right? Different academic fields have different ways of writing. If you're writing a science paper with APA voice, it's a little bit different than an English paper and an MLA voice, right? So what are the conventions of a research paper? Is there a thesis statement that controls the essay? Yeah, always we can agree on that. Research is always secondary sources cited in the works cited page, correct? Reliable and credible, most are scholarly, right? So let's see what we get here. Counter argument, all right? So if we were to look at theories of intelligence, I bet you can find a thesis there, right? Research, I know there are some secondary sources cited in his works cited page, correct? Like any other research essay or research paper. Are the sources reliable and credible? I'd say most of them are scholarly from quality publications if you look at the works cited section at the end of theories of intelligence. Okay, I'll support the main argument that Ballinger is not as dumb as he thought he was. There actually is a counter argument toward the end of that particular essay, and the conclusion comes back to the thesis. So if we were to turn around and talk about the four sources of information, yeah, there's a lot of memory and experience in that particular research essay, right? It talks about his life, and perhaps maybe it's the narrative structure that really kind of throws everybody off in reading it because it's about him. But that research is skillfully integrated into that particular essay. There is observation. The secondary sources come from the works cited page, and he used some credible sources, and I believe there is even an interview in that theories of intelligence. So if we look at the two, the essay versus the report, you're thinking about voice, originality, critical thinking. All of this is involved in the theories of intelligence. You have informed opinions based on factual evidence and real world experience. I mean, you can't discount the lifetime of intellectual activity that Ballinger has achieved, right? So in the end, I always maintain that theories of intelligence is a research essay. It's a narrative in structure. He talks about himself and answers a lot of questions too, like can you use I in a research essay? Can you do some of the things that are normally forbidden in a research essay? And oftentimes the conventions are conventions and they need to be learned. But in the end, the idea here is that you want to be sure that you do able to understand the conventions of a college research paper. It'll shift from course to course. Okay, we have all certain genres, but your challenge is to think about how you can write a research essay, or I call a research paper, as opposed to the research report. So this is the takeaway for the introduction, is to look at some of the concepts and components that of the research essay, that sometimes we all have these preconceived notions because we have been academically trained. So I'm asking you to look at this in a new light. Would an essay like Ballinger's in that tone and that voice probably do well in this particular course? In this course, it probably would do well. So when you start thinking about topics, and we'll get into topics next week in chapter 1, think about something that involves you within our Gen Z theme, and you want to research that a little bit. And then go from there as we move into chapter 1 next week, right? Remember, Monday is the holiday, so you want to make sure you get that essay in, and we'll pick up the activity next week. Thank you, and good luck. Stay safe out there.